Pride and Prejudice, adapted from Jane Austen's novel by Ryan Diller. England at the turn of the 19th century. Scene 1. Elizabeth and Darcy on stage.
It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife.
However little known the feelings or views of such a man may be on his first entering a neighborhood, this truth is so well fixed in the minds of the surrounding families that he is considered as the rightful property of some one or other of their daughters.
Darcy exits. Elizabeth sits and reads a book. Off stage, Mr. Bennet and Mrs. Bennet are heard arguing.
As a matter of fact, I have no interest in who has taken Netherfield Park, but you want to tell me and I have no objection to hearing it.
It has been taken by a man of large fortune from the north of England. He is to move in by the end of the week. Bingley is his name.
Jane enters. Elizabeth greets her lightly. Jane places her head on Elizabeth's lap. Elizabeth continues reading. As the following continues, they amuse themselves mocking their parents. Off stage.
And I suppose he's married.
Oh, single, of course. You can be so tiresome. You must know that I am thinking of his marrying one of them.
Are you now? And I'm to assume that's his design in settling here?
Design? How you can talk so? But it is very likely that he may fall in love with one of them, and therefore you must visit him.
It is more than I engage for, I assure you.
But consider your daughters. Think what an establishment it would be for one of them. How are they to meet him if you do not go? You have no compassion for my poor nerves.
I have a high respect for your nerves. They're my old friends. I've heard you mention them considerably these last 20 years at least.
Oh, you don't know how I suffer.
Enough.
Mr. Bennet enters. Elizabeth and Jane quickly make themselves look respectable.
A certain Mr. Bingley is to move into Netherfield Park. I suppose you should like to meet him?
Sure.
Yes, Father.
Very well. I should assume there will be a ball. Where is Lydia? I know better than to ask. Wherever your sister returns from, wherever she's off to, tell her.
Mr. Bennet exits. End scene. Scene 2. Mr. Bingley and Mr. Darcy at the ball, with drinks in hand. Jane enters. Mr. Bingley is immediately love-struck. He hands his drink to Mr. Darcy and goes to her as if they're magnets attracted to each other.
Hello, I am Charles Bingley. May I have the pleasure of knowing your name?
I am Jane Bennet, and this is my sister Elizabeth, and our younger sister Lydia was just around here somewhere.
I am delighted to meet you both. Jane, may I have this dance?
You may.
They dance off.
What's your name?
Darcy, Fitzwilliam Darcy.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Not much of a ratio of male to female attendance tonight.
No. Pardon me, I should go greet Mr. Bingley's sister.
Very well.
Elizabeth sits. A song plays. Mrs. Bennet enters.
That Mr. Darcy is so fine and tall and noble. And my Jane has her hooks in a good one. Oh, I see a good option for Lydia.
Mother, please, you will scare him off.
Mrs. Bennet exits in pursuit of the man. A new song plays. Mr. Bingley and Jane enter dancing. Bingley is in pure delight. Jane is playing it cool. New song. Mrs. Bennet enters.
Mr. Darcy has no manners. He is far too proud. Then again, I have it on good account that he brings in at least 10,000 a year.
Mrs. Bennet exits. Mr. Darcy enters and watches Jane and Bingley briefly. Elizabeth tries to get his eye for a dance. He looks at her briefly, but then exits. End scene. Scene 3. The sound of silverware against a glass. Mr. Bingley addresses the party.
My friends, for I feel comfortable having shared this night with you to claim all of you now as friends. What a remarkable night this is. Thank you for taking my sister and me into your company. I truly feel welcome in this beautiful town I now have the honor of calling home. I must have you all for a ball just like this at Netherfield soon.
Mr. Bingley goes to Mr. Darcy, who is standing in the corner with a drink.
And here I thought you would spend the whole night with that Bennet girl.
Come, Darcy. I hate seeing you standing in this stupid manner. You would much better dance.
I shall certainly not. You know how I detest it, unless I am particularly acquainted with my partner. Your sister is engaged, and there's not another woman in the room who it would not be a punishment to me to stand up with.
I would not be as dull as you for a kingdom. Upon my honor, I have never met so many pleasant girls in my life as I have this evening. They are uncommonly pretty.
I think you are so bewitched by the one girl you favor that you are casting her charms on the whole room.
Perhaps.
Elizabeth enters unseen and eavesdrops.
I assure you, you are dancing with the only handsome girl in the room.
Oh, she is the most beautiful creature I have ever beheld. But her sister, who we must admit is very pretty, has been sitting down all night, and I do think she is very agreeable. Do not let me ask my partner. Do let me ask my partner to introduce you.
Which do you mean? I'll certainly have none of the youngest, and as for the other, she is tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me. I am in no humor at present to give consequence to young ladies who are slighted by other men.
Spoil sport. That's what you are. Come now, banish your pride and dance with the girl.
Enough, Bingley, you waste your time with me. Return to your partner and enjoy her smiles.
Happily.
Bingley exits. Darcy catches Elizabeth's eye.
Excuse me.
Darcy exits. Lydia enters.
Ugh, that Darcy is such a waste of wealth and handsomeness.
Handsome? I wouldn't deign to go so far as tolerable.
End scene. Scene 4. Elizabeth and Jane are speaking together a few days after the dance.
He is just what a young man ought to be, sensible and good-humored, lively, and I never saw such happy manners.
He's also handsome, which a young man ought likewise to be, if he possibly can.
I was very much flattered by his asking me to dance so often. I did not expect such a compliment.
Did you not? I did. That is one great difference between us. You are always surprised when you are complimented. I am not.
Mrs. Bennet enters with a letter.
Letter for you, Jane dear.
Jane opens it.
Miss Bingley invites me to have tea with her and her brother. She says to come as soon as I have received this letter.
Then you better go now.
But it seems likely to storm.
Then you had better go on horseback.
Really, Mother, I believe we can wait until tomorrow.
Nonsense. What's the worst that can happen? She gets wet and develops a little sore throat.
Blackout. Storm sounds. End scene. Scene 5. Miss Bingley and Mr. Darcy play cards. Mr. Bingley stands looking out the window in concern.
Come, brother, it's your turn.
I just think perhaps I should check on her again.
It can't hardly have been 5 minutes. Let her rest. Honestly, all this hullabaloo is most distasteful. They must surely be used to such afflictions in these parts.
Elizabeth bursts through the door into the room, her coat dirty and wet.
Where's my sister? I'm sorry I didn't knock. Is she okay?
She's resting. She has a bit of a fever, but the doctor's keeping an eye on her. My goodness, are you all right?
I must see her.
Of course, this way.
Darcy and Miss Bingley watch them as they go.
You must have walked 3 miles.
How nonsensical to come at all, scampering about the country because her sister has a cold. I am inclined to think that you would not wish to see your sister make such an exhibition.
Certainly not. And yet I must say I find nothing nonsensical in her familial devotion.
Well, regardless, I'm certain her wild appearance sadly must have tainted your admiration of her fine eyes. Excuse me.
Miss Bingley exits.
On the contrary, they seem to have been rather brightened by the exercise.
End scene. Scene 6. Mr. Bennet is reading. Mrs. Bennet passes by.
Oh, one more for dinner tonight.
Mr. Bingley? Oh, I shall be extremely glad to see Mr. Bingley. But good Lord, how unlucky. There's not a bit of fish.
Not Mr. Bingley,
Then who?
my cousin.
The one who may turn us all out of this house if he pleases as soon as you're dead?
Yes,
The one nobody cares a thing about, who is to take 3 daughters' estate away from them thanks to the foolish state of inheritance law in this country?
it is certainly a most iniquitous affair, but Mr. Collins,
That odious man.
Mr. Collins is here.
Mr. Collins enters. He wears the clerical garb of the Church of England. He bows.
Pardon me, cousin, madam. I am very sensible, I think, of the hardship to my fair cousins, and could say much on the subject, but I am cautious of appearing forward and precipitate. First, may I compliment your beautiful estate. The hall, the dining room, all its furniture, there is much to be praised. Next, I should say that I have of late come under the patronage of the great, wealthy, and widowed Lady Catherine de Bourgh, who has preferred me to the valuable rectory of this parish, where it shall be my earnest endeavor to be worthy of her distinguishment and perform those rites and ceremonies which are instituted by the Church of England. As a clergyman, I feel it my duty to promote and establish the blessing of peace in all families within the reach of my influence, including your own.
That is most conscientious.
You are very kind, sir, I am sure, and I wish with all my heart it may prove so. For else my daughters will be destitute enough. Things are settled so oddly.
You allude to the entail of this estate. I might endeavor to propose a solution. Having now a good home and very sufficient income, it is my intention to marry. In seeking a reconciliation with your family, I mean to choose one of your daughters in marriage. I think this plan of amends an excellent one.
Do you?
Yes, full of eligibility and suitableness. Most disinterested on my part, I might say, in keeping with my strictest notions of seniority. It feels more than correct to seek lovely Jane's hand.
Correct, you
Jane-
say.
Jane, I must caution, that is, I find it incumbent to say, is practically spoken for. You see, she is likely to be very soon engaged. But as to my younger daughters, I cannot take it upon me to say, but I do not know of any prepossessions.
Ah, then Elizabeth.
Mr. Bennet nearly says something, but Mrs. Bennet stops him forcefully.
Yes, that shall be quite suitable.
Yes, quite suitable. May we show you around the estate?
I endeavored to study much of it before, but shall be glad to see more.
They exit. Jane, Lydia, and Elizabeth peek out. Jane shrugs and pats her sister on the shoulder and exits. Lydia puts her tongue out at Elizabeth and exits. Elizabeth remains in mortification. End scene. Scene 7. Mr. Bennet alone. During his monologue, Wickham enters and sets up at the whist table.
Colonel Forster's regiment is passing through. They're not here for long, but I think it only right that you and your younger sister look in on them. As your elder sister will rightfully be visiting Mr. Bingley and his sister before they take their trip back to London, it will fall on you, my intelligent Lizzie, to contain Lydia's recklessness. Though the two of you will be accompanied by Mr. Collins and you will have his support, well, you know how your sister gets around soldiers.
Mr. Bennet exits. Lydia enters with Elizabeth following behind.
So many fine gentlemen here, a most eligible offering indeed.
Lydia, please, we must get back to our party.
I can manage just fine, thank you. Can I go one moment without you?
Pardon me, are you two the Bennet sisters?
Yes, but
Colonel Foster told us you were coming tonight. Please forgive me if I am mistaken, but you must be Elizabeth and you Lydia, yes? And there was mention of an eldest sister who could not make it tonight. Jane, oh yes, that's it. I merely wanted to say that my name is George Wickham and that it is a pleasure to be acquainted with you two fine ladies such as yourself. I would like to extend my gratitude to you and your entire family on behalf of my fellow lowly servicemen that you have honored us with your company.
oh, your manners, such grace.
Wow.
Thank you. I should not like to burden you and demand any more of your time.
Oh, it's hardly.
So what's your family situation like, George?
No, Colonel Forster, sir?
Foster enters.
Colonel Forster, sir?
At ease. Lydia, there you are. My wife would like to speak with you for a moment. Elizabeth, you may come too if you like.
If it causes no inconvenience, I should be comfortable remaining at the whist table.
But
Come along, Lydia.
Colonel Forster and an unwilling Lydia exit.
Please forgive my sister. She is young and sometimes lacking in manners.
Well, there's no need to apologize. She gave no offense. She's lucky to have a sister as caring as you.
Thank you. Have you any siblings?
No, not by blood. There was a boy who was like a brother to me, but that was long ago. These men are my brothers now, and I could not ask to be blessed with better siblings. Where is your older sister tonight?
She is visiting a Mr. Bingley and his sister, Miss Bingley, before they leave town temporarily. And perhaps a certain Mr. Darcy will be there.
Pardon me, do you mean Fitzwilliam Darcy?
Yes,
Are you much acquainted with Mr. Darcy?
as much as I ever wished to be. I spent 4 days in the same house with him, and I think him very disagreeable.
Oh, I have no right to give my opinion as to his being agreeable or otherwise. I have known him too long and too well to be a fair judge, but I believe your opinion of him would, in general, astonish, and perhaps you would not express it quite so strongly anywhere else.
Upon my word, I say no more here than I might say anywhere else. He's not at all liked in Hertfordshire. Everybody is disgusted with his pride. He strikes me as an ill-tempered man.
I wonder whether he is likely to be in the area much longer.
I do not know at all, but I heard nothing of his going away while I was in Netherfield. I hope your plans will not be affected by his being in the neighborhood.
Oh, no, it's not for me to be driven away by Mr. Darcy. If he wishes to avoid seeing me, he must go.
How do you mean?
We are not on friendly terms, and it always gives me pain to meet him, though I have no reason for avoiding him that I could not proclaim to all the world. A sense of very great ill usage and most painful regrets at his being what he is. It is a most unpleasant topic, I'm afraid.
Please, go on.
Well, his father was the truest friend I ever had and one of the best men that ever breathed. I can hardly be in the company of his son without being grieved to the soul by 1,000 tender recollections of that good man. I could forgive Mr. Darcy anything and everything then, except for disappointing the hopes of his father and disgracing the man's memory. But this topic is too delicate. I'm pleased to be in Meryton. It was the prospect of constant society, a good society, which was my chief inducement to come here. Society, I own, is necessary to me. My spirits will not bear solitude. I must have employment and society, and my military life has suited me well in those regards. It is not the life I was intended for, but circumstances have now made it eligible.
And what was this profession you were meant to enter?
Well, the church. I was brought up for it, and at the time would have been in possession of a most valued post had it pleased the gentleman we were speaking of just now.
Indeed.
Yes, Mr. Darcy's father left a parish to me. I cannot do justice to his kindness. He was a godfather to me and meant always for me to enter the clergy. He meant to provide me amply, but when he passed on, the post was given to another.
Good heavens, but how could that be? There must have been a will. Could you not seek legal redress?
There was just such a degree of informality in terms of the bequest that I could have no hope from the law. A man of honor could not have doubted the intention, but Mr. Darcy chose to doubt it, or to treat it as a merely conditional recommendation. He made claims against my character to assert that I had forfeited all claim to it. To this day, I examine my life, but cannot see what I could have done to warrant his ill opinion. I have a warm, unguarded temper. Perhaps I sometimes spoke my opinion of him and to him too freely. I can recall nothing worse, but the fact is, we're all very different sort of men, and he hates me.
That is horrifying. He deserves to be publicly disgraced.
Sometime or other he will be, I suppose, but it shall not be by me. Till I can forget his father, I can never defy or expose him.
I'm sorry for your pains.
Not at all. I am most grateful for the company I enjoyed today.
But there is one thing I must ask. Are you familiar with Mr. Bingley?
Not at all.
He seems to be good humor himself and is, I really believe, truly amiable. How could such a sweet-tempered and charming man befriend Mr. Darcy?
He probably cannot be aware of Mr. Darcy's true character. And Mr. Darcy can please where he chooses. He does not want abilities. He can be a conversible companion if he thinks it worth his while. Among those who are at all his equals in consequence, he is a very different man from what he is to the less prosperous.
Collins.
Ah, the mighty whist game. I know very well, madam, that when persons sit down to a card table, many must take their chances at these things. Happily, I am not in such circumstances, and to make 5 shillings any object.
Oh, Mr. Collins, is it?
Yes,
I understand you are in the clergy.
indeed, praise be.
I respect that very much. In your position, I should be as you are, but as it stands, I am just a humble soldier for His Majesty, so I will throw in my lot.
Wickham winks at Elizabeth to her delight. Collins exits in a huff. End scene. Scene 8. Jane and Elizabeth are talking.
I love him.
Oh, Jane.
He's such a good man. I'm still stunned, speechless by his kindness those 4 days I was ill.
He practically had to be torn from your bedside.
I could hardly contain myself. Did I appear too attached to him?
No, you were perfectly composed.
Thank goodness.
He takes out a letter.
This came from his London address today. I expect this can only mean he's coming back soon.
Only one way to find out.
Jane opens the letter. She hands it to Elizabeth.
I'm too nervous. Read it for me.
I can hardly see any reason to be nervous.
Elizabeth glances at the letter.
Come now. What does it say?
Miss Bingley says that they will be spending the whole winter in London and expresses Mr. Bingley's regret that he had not the time to pay his respects to his friends here before departing. Jane.
Mrs. Bennet barges in.
This is an outrage.
Mother, please, I'm certain this is Miss Bingley and Mr. Darcy's doing. This obstacle is fleeting.
We shall send you right up to London. He will come back to his senses when he sees you again.
Does that not seem, what is the word, desperate, perhaps?
Hush! She needs to visit her aunt and Uncle Gardiner besides. She will accompany them back to London after their visit next weekend. All will be well.
Mother.
All will be well.
Mrs. Bennet exits.
It is, I must admit, a good pretext.
Dearest Lizzie, is this course of action wise?
Sister, from all I have observed, I think you should go.
I shall give your regards to Wickham should I encounter his regiment.
And scene. Scene 9. Collins and Elizabeth dancing at a ball.
You see, so long as he keeps humble in his station, a clergyman may be considered as high as any noble, for his standing with God elevates him higher than man ever could, so long as he remains humble in his station.
Uh-huh.
Yes, quite high.
The song ends. Darcy enters and extends his hand to Elizabeth.
I believe it is my time, Miss Bennet.
Has it been 2 songs already? Ah, excuse me.
Collins exits. Darcy and Elizabeth dance. Silence.
I'll grant you this. You're a better dancer than Mr. Collins.
Thank you. You are too.
Silent.
It's your turn to say something now, Mr. Darcy.
What shall I remark on?
I must choose the topic.
Whatever you wish me to say, I'll say it.
It is customary to make some remark on the size of the room or the number of couples or gratifying nature of balls in general.
Do you talk by rule while dancing?
Sometimes one must speak a little, you know. It would look odd to go half an hour together in silence.
Is this a Hertfordshire custom? If so, I might find myself dancing little while here.
I hardly see how you can dance any less. Do you know that you danced only 4 numbers at the last ball? 4, though gentlemen were scarce, and to my certain knowledge, more than one young lady was sitting down in want of a partner.
I had not at that time the honor of knowing any lady in the assembly beyond my own party.
True, and nobody can ever be introduced in a ballroom.
Perhaps I should have judged better, but I am ill qualified to recommend myself to strangers. I certainly have not the talent which some people have of conversing easily with those I have never seen before.
I could not move over this dance floor in this masterly manner, which I see so many women do, but then I have always supposed it to be my own fault, because I would not take the trouble of practicing. It is not that I do not believe myself incapable of doing so.
You are perfectly right.
My sisters and I met an acquaintance of yours the other day. Perhaps had he been here, you would have felt less among strangers.
And who was that?
Mr. Wickham. He's charming, no?
Mr. Wickham is blessed with many happy manners, as may ensure his making friends. Whether he may be equally capable of retaining them is another matter.
He has been so unlucky as to lose your friendship, and in a manner which he is likely to suffer from all his life.
I can readily believe that report may vary greatly with respect to me. I wish you not to sketch my character at the present moment, as there's reason to fear that the performance would reflect no credit on either of us.
But if I do not take to your likeness now, I may never have another opportunity.
That strikes me as unlikely.
The number is
Thank you for the dance. I wish you good night.
Darcy exits. End scene. Scene 10. Collins, Elizabeth, Lydia, and Mrs. Bennet are sitting in the sitting area, eating breakfast.
Truly, it might be said, this is a day the Lord has made.
Doesn't he make all days?
Hush, Lydia.
May I hope, madam, to solicit the honor of a private audience with your fair daughter Elizabeth in the course of the morning?
Over the following, Elizabeth makes mad gestures, begging her mother and Lydia to stay.
Oh, yes, certainly. I am sure Lizzie can have no objection. Come, Lydia, I want you upstairs.
Of course, Mama.
Is that necessary? What can Mr. Collins have to say to me that anybody need not also hear? I was just going away myself.
Elizabeth Bennet, I insist upon you staying and hearing Mr. Collins.
Elizabeth is defeated. Mrs. Bennet exits. Lydia makes a mocking expression at Elizabeth before exiting.
Believe me, my dear Miss Elizabeth, that your modesty, so far from doing you any disservice, rather adds to your other perfections. Indeed, you would have been less admirable in my eyes had there not been this little unwillingness. You can hardly doubt my intentions. I singled you out as the companion of my future life as soon as I entered the house. Well, almost as soon as I had. But before I am run away with by my feelings on this subject, may I state my reasons for marrying, and moreover, for coming to Hertfordshire with the design of selecting a wife, as I certainly did.
Mr. Collins.
First, I think it is a right thing for every clergyman in easy circumstances, like myself, to set the example of matrimony in his parish. Second, I am convinced it will add very greatly to my happiness. And third, it is the particular advice and recommendation of the very noble Lady Catherine de Bourgh, whom I have had the honor of calling my patroness, that...
Sir, I believe you forget that I have made no answer.
One more moment, I shall be hasty. In recalling my patroness, I should recall the very Saturday night before I left Hunsford. Between our pool at Quadrille, as Mrs. Jenkinson was arranging the Lady Catherine's footstool.
Mr. Collins, I'm very sensible of the honor of your proposals, but it is impossible for me to do otherwise but decline them.
Oh, Elizabeth, I am by no means unfamiliar with the modern fashion of young ladies who first reject their paramour when they secretly mean to accept, nor of the fashions of repeating this rejection a second or even a third time. Thus, I assure you that I am by no means discouraged by what you have just said, and shall hope to lead you to the altar ere long.
Sir, I assure you that I am not one of those young ladies, if such young ladies there are, who are so daring to risk their happiness on the chance of being given a second proposal. I am perfectly serious. You could not make me happy, and I am convinced that I am the last woman in the world who would make you so.
Very good. However, I should warn you that when I do myself the honor of speaking to you next on these subjects, I shall hope to receive a more favorable answer than you have now given me.
Mr. Collins, if what I have said can appear to you as any form of encouragement, I know not how to express my refusal in such a way as may convince you of its being one.
But my cousin, my situation to your family and circumstances can only make me imagine that your rejection is merely out of a wish to increase my love by suspense, according to the usual practice of elegant modern females.
I assure you, sir, that I have no pretension whatever to an elegance which consists in tormenting respectable men. Please do not consider me an elegant female intending to plague you, but as a rational creature speaking the truth from her heart.
Charming. Utterly, uniformly charming. Elizabeth, you are dear indeed, and I am persuaded that when sanctioned by the express authority of both your excellent parents, my proposals will not fail of being acceptable.
Elizabeth lets out a cry of anguish and exits. Mrs. Bennet answers.
May I welcome my new son-in-law to the family?
Well, not just yet. You see, Elizabeth is elegant, most elegant indeed. She has rejected my proposal.
What?
Rest assured, madam, it is only the modern style. It is unfashionable for elegant young ladies to receive their mate on the first proposal. Though I admit it is unusual for such ladies to explicitly denigrate such elegance and assure their paramour that they do not possess it.
Mr. Collins, I am amazed. But depend upon it that Lizzie shall be brought to reason. I will speak to her about it myself directly. She is a very headstrong, foolish girl and does not know her own interests, but I will make her know it.
Pardon me for interrupting you, madam, but she is headstrong and foolish, you say? This is unpleasant to learn. If she is really headstrong and foolish, I know not whether she would altogether be a very desirable wife to a man in my situation, who naturally looks for happiness in the marriage state.
Headstrong and foolish. Oh no, I've always said Lizzie is the smartest and most virtuous of my...
Perhaps it were better not to force her into accepting me, because if liable to such defects of temper, she could not contribute much to my felicity.
Sir, you quite misunderstand me. Lizzie is only headstrong in such manners as these. In everything else, she is as good-natured a girl as ever lived. We will go directly to Mr. Bennet. He will...
Excuse me, madam. I'm afraid I just remembered that I must call upon my valued patroness, the Lady Catherine de Bourgh, immediately and indefinitely. I thank you and your husband very much for your company, but I must depart right away.
Mr. Collins quickly goes to leave.
Mr. Collins, wait. Come and speak with Mr. Bennet. We shall very soon settle all this, I am sure. Please.
Off stage. Mr.
You
Collins.
can always...
She calls
You
after
can always
him.
have Liddy. Sorry.
Off stage.
Hey,
Elizabeth, and Mr. Bennet, come in here now.
Elizabeth enters.
Oh, thank goodness he's gone.
Where is your father?
Mr. Bennet enters.
Yes?
Lizzie, our Elizabeth, has rejected Mr. Collins. And if he is not soon persuaded, he will no longer have her.
And what am I to do on this occasion? It seems like a hopeless business.
Tell her yourself that she must marry him. I will never speak to her again if she refuses.
To Elizabeth. Mr.
Come
Bennet.
here, child. Mr. Collins has made you an offer of marriage. Your mother insists upon you accepting it, or she will never speak to you again. Do you understand?
Yes, father.
Well, Elizabeth, an unhappy alternative is before you. From this day, you must be a stranger to one of your parents. Your mother will never speak to you again if you do not marry Mr. Collins, and I will never see you again if you do. My dears, I have two small favors to request. First, that I be allowed the free use of my opinion on the present occasion, and second, that I be allowed the free use of my room.
Father,
On second thought, the library will do just fine.
He exits, leaving a stunned Elizabeth and a stunned Mrs. Bennet. End scene. Scene 11. Jane is writing a letter.
My dearest Lizzie, unhappily, I must report that events have not gone as I hoped in London. Miss Bingley returned my visit till yesterday, and not a note, not a line did I receive in the meantime. When she did come, it was very evident that she had no pleasure in it. She made a slight formal apology for not calling before, and when she left, she said not a word of wishing to see me again. Mr. Bingley is constantly engaged by work with Mr. Darcy, so I am told. I am certain from something she said herself that Miss Bingley wants to persuade herself that her brother is really partial to Miss Darcy. Mr. Darcy's involvement in these dealings seems as active as Miss Bingley's. But I will endeavor to banish every painful thought and think only of what will make me happy. Your affection and the invariable kindness of my dear uncle and aunt. We look forward to your visit, and I have it on good faith that we shall likely dine with Wickham and his regiment. Yours, etc.
End scene.
Scene 12. Charlotte alone. Elizabeth knocks. Charlotte answers. Elizabeth enters.
My dear Elizabeth!
dearest Charlotte,
They embrace.
I must go to London.
Because there is good news with Jane.
The furthest from it.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Lizzie.
It is a very unhappy affair.
Yes, I know how hard it is to see a marital prospect turn sour.
Yes. On that subject, Mr. Collins?
Well, yes.
Charlotte, you have been my dear neighbor for my whole life, practically a second older sister to me. My goodness, I mean no offense, but I simply do not understand.
My dear Eliza, do you think it's so incredible that Mr. Collins might procure any woman's good opinion just because he was not so happy to succeed with you?
But he's Mr. Collins.
And what's wrong with that? His character, connections, and situation in life are more than suitable.
But do you not find it strange to accept a proposal just 2 days after you proposed to another?
I am not romantic, you know. I never was. I only ask for a comfortable home, and Mr. Collins can provide that. I believe my chance of happiness with him is as fair as most people have upon entering marriage.
Well, your wedding day will come and go, but may your love forever grow.
Thank you, Eliza. I hope that I shall hear from you often.
That you certainly shall.
They hug.
Lizzie, I sincerely hope that you will not take offense, but out of my love for you, may I offer a humble observation? If one goes about rejecting multiple proposals, soon she may stop receiving them.
End scene. Scene 13. Doorbell rings. Elizabeth alone on stage.
I'm coming, Colonel Fitzwilliam. I must say it's a real honor to be attending a proper London dinner with a fine regiment of
Elizabeth opens the door, is disappointed.
Mr. Darcy.
May I come in?
Elizabeth assents, Darcy enters.
How's your health?
My health?
I understood you were feeling poorly.
No, I'm fine.
Good. In vain have I struggled, it will not do. My feelings will not be repressed. You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you. In spite of everything, your meager means, your lack of connections, your families, my goodness, your family, their utter lack of couth. In spite of all this and all my efforts to conquer my feelings, I cannot overcome the strength of my attachment to you. Against my will, against my reason, even perhaps my character, Elizabeth, I hope that I will be rewarded by your acceptance of my hand.
I must say, in cases such as these, customs dictate one express a sense of obligation for the sentiments avowed. It is natural that obligation should be felt, and if I could feel gratitude, I would thank you now. But I cannot. I have never desired your good opinion, and you have certainly bestowed it most unwillingly. I am sorry to have occasioned pain to anyone. It has most unconsciously been done, and I hope will last of a short duration.
This is the reply which I am to have the honor of accepting. I might perhaps wish to know why with so little effort at civility I am rejected, but it is of small importance.
Then I may have the right to inquire why, with so evident an intention of offending and insulting me, you choose to tell me that you like against your will, against your reason, and even against your character? That inclivity alone would be enough. But I have other provocations. You know I have. Even had my feelings not been decided against you, do you think that any consideration would tempt me to accept the man who has been the means of ruining, perhaps forever, the happiness of my most beloved sister? Can you deny that you've done that?
I have no wish of denying that I did everything in my power to separate my friend from your sister, or that I rejoice my success. Towards him, I have been kinder than towards myself.
But it is not merely this affair of which my dislike is unfounded. Your character was unfolded long ago in your treatment of Mr. Wickham. On the subject, what can you have to say? And what imaginary act of friendship can you here defend yourself?
You take an eager interest in that gentleman's concerns?
Who that knows what his misfortunes have been can help feeling an interest in him?
His misfortunes, yes, his misfortunes have been great indeed.
And of your doing, you have reduced him to his present state of poverty, well, comparative poverty. You have withheld the advantages which you must know to have been designed for him. You have deprived the best years of his life, which was his due. You have done all this, and yet you can treat the mention of his misfortunes with contempt and ridicule.
And this is your opinion of me. This is the estimation in which you hold me. I thank you for explaining it so fully. My faults, according to this calculation, are heavy indeed. But these bitter accusations might have been suppressed had I with greater policy concealed my struggles and flattered you into the belief of my being impelled by unqualified, unalloyed inclination. But disguise of every sort is my abhorrence. Could you expect me to rejoice in the inferiority of your connections? To congratulate myself on the hope of relations whose condition in life is so decidedly beneath my own?
You are mistaken, Mr. Darcy. If you think this declaration affects me in any other way than sparing the concern which I might have felt in refusing you, had you behaved in a more gentlemanlike manner. You could not have offered me your hand in any possible way that would have tempted me to accept it. I had not known you a month before I felt that you were the last man in the world whom I could ever be prevailed on to marry.
You've said quite enough, madam. I perfectly comprehend your feelings and have now only to be ashamed of what my own have been. Forgive me for having taken up so much of your time, and accept my best wishes for your health and happiness.
He exits. Blackout. Scene 14. Elizabeth awakens. She sees an envelope in the corner. She opens it.
Be not alarmed, madam. The fear that this letter contains any repetitions of the sentiments and offers of last night that so disgusted you. I will not dwell on wishes which, for the happiness of both, cannot be too soon forgotten. The efforts of forming and perusing this letter should have been spared, had not the matter of my character required it to be written and read. Therefore, you must pardon the freedom with which I demand your attention. Your feelings, I know, will bestow it unwillingly, but I demand it of your justice. Two offenses of a very different nature, and by no means of equal magnitude, you charged me with last night. First mentioned was that regardless of the sentiments of either, I had detached Mr. Bingley from your sister, and the other that I had, in defiance of various claims, in defiance of honor and humanity, ruined the immediate prosperity and blasted the prospects of Mr. Wickham. To willfully and wantonly have thrown off the companion of my youth, the acknowledged favorite of my father, a young man who had scarcely any dependence than on our patronage, but had been brought up to expect its exertion, would be a depravity, to which the separation of two young persons whose affections could be the growth of only a few weeks could bear no comparison. But to the matter of Mr. Bingley first. I had not long been in Hertfordshire before I saw, in common with others, that Bingley preferred your eldest sister to any other young woman in the country. I observed my friend's behavior attentively, and while I had often seen him in love before, I could perceive that his partiality for Miss Bennet was beyond what I'd ever witnessed in him. Your sister I also watched. Her look and manners were open, cheerful and engaging as ever, but without any symptom of peculiar regard. And I remain convinced from my scrutiny that though she received his attentions with pleasure, she did not receive them with sentiment. If you have not been mistaken in your sister's affections, I must have been in error. Your superior knowledge of your sister must make the latter probable. If it be so, your resentment has not been unreasonable. But I shall not scruple to assert that the serenity of your sister's countenance and air was such as might have given the most acute observer the impression that, however amiable her temper, her heart was not likely to be easily touched. And then there was the matter of, I beg your forgiveness for mentioning it, the naked yearning for material advancement through marriage expressed by your mother, your younger sister, and even occasionally your father. Pardon me, it pains me to offend you, but please let me only say that neither you nor your elder sister have ever exhibited such behavior in my eye, and that is to be praised. Now, with respect to that other, more weighty accusation. I can only refute it by laying before you the whole of Mr. Wickham's connection to my family. Of what he has particularly accused me of, I am ignorant, but of the truth of what I shall relate, I can summon more than one witness of undoubted veracity. Mr. Wickham is the son of a very respectable man, who for many years managed all the Pemberley estates. His good conduct naturally inclined my father to be of service to him. To George Wickham he became a godfather, and his kindness was liberally bestowed on him. He supported him at school and afterwards Cambridge. My father held young Mr. Wickham in the highest regard. His manners were always engaging, and my father hoped that the church would be the young man's profession. As for myself, it has been many years since I began to see him in a very different manner. His vicious propensities, the want of principle he was careful to guard from the knowledge of my father, could not escape the observation of a young man nearly the same age as him, and who had opportunities to see him in unguarded manners. Here again, I shall give you pain, to what degree you only can tell. My excellent father died about 5 years ago. He left Mr. Wickham a parish in his will. Mr. Wickham wrote to inform me that, having finally resolved against taking holy orders, he hoped I should not be offended if he expected some more immediate fiscal advantage in lieu of his preferment. He mentioned an interest in studying law. I wished rather than believed that he was sincere. But at any rate, I was perfectly ready to accede to his proposal. I knew he had no business being a clergyman. The deal was settled, and he renounced all claim to assistance in the church. All connection between us seemed now dissolved. For about 3 years, I heard little of him. Then he called on me again. His circumstances were exceedingly bad. He had said he found the law a most unprofitable study and claimed to now be ready for ordination. You will hardly blame me for refusing to comply with this entreaty or for resisting every repetition of it. His resentment was in proportion to the distress of his circumstances, and he was doubtless as violent in his abuse of me to others as in his reproaches to my face. After this period, every appearance of acquaintance was dropped. How he lived, I know not. But last summer, I must now mention a circumstance I wish to forget, and which no obligation less than the present should induce me to unfold to any human being. However, I feel no doubt of your secrecy. My sister, who is more than 10 years my junior, was left to my and my cousin Colonel Fitzwilliam's guardianship. About a year ago, my sister was taken from school and an establishment formed for her in London. Last summer, she went with a Mrs. Young who presided over it to Ramsgate. And undoubtedly by design, thither also went Mr. Wickham. There proved to have been a prior acquaintance between him and Mrs. Young, in whose character we were most unhappily deceived. Georgiana was then but 15, and her affectionate heart retained a strong impression of Wickham's kindness to her as a child. She believed herself in love and was content to an elopement. A day or two before it was too late, I found them. My dear sister could not bear offending a brother she looked up to as a father. Regard for my sister's credit and feelings prevented any public exposure. Mrs. Young was, of course, discharged, and I wrote Mr. Wickham, who left the place immediately. His chief object was undoubtedly her fortune, but I cannot help supposing that the hope of revenging himself on me was a strong inducement. This, madam, is a faithful narrative of every event in which we have been concerned together. If nothing else, I hope you will acquit me henceforth of cruelty towards Mr. Wickham. I know not in what manner, under what form of falsehood he has deceived you, but his success is not perhaps to be wondered at. Ignorant as you were previously of everything concerning him, detection could not be in your power, and suspicion certainly not in your inclination. You may possibly wonder why I did not tell you all this last night, but I was not then master of myself to know what could or ought to be revealed. The truth of here, everything related can be confirmed by Colonel Fitzwilliam. I will only add, God bless you. Signed, Fitzwilliam Darcy.
Oh, God.
End scene. Scene 15. Wickham sits beside Elizabeth.
You stayed at Rosings, I hear.
I did.
How long were you there?
Nearly 3 weeks.
Then you saw much of Colonel Fitzwilliam. He's a good man, much different in manners from his cousin Darcy.
Yes, very different, but I think Mr. Darcy improves on acquaintance.
Really? But do you mean he grows more civil? I dare not hope that he is improved in essentials.
Oh, no. In essentials, I believe he is very much what he ever was. What I mean is not that his mind or manners improves, but that from knowing him better, his disposition is better understood. He is not as I was led to believe.
You know well my feelings towards Mr. Darcy. I will credit him that he is wise enough to assume even the appearance of what is right.
He takes his plate.
Excuse me.
Wickham exits. End scene. Scene 16. Elizabeth sits reading. Lydia enters, grinning.
What?
Guess who's going to Brighton?
Probably a great deal of rowdy soldiers.
Lizzie, guess.
Only so that you will leave me alone, I shall guess Aunt and Uncle Gardiner.
No, silly, you are accompanying them north, remember?
North? We shall not go further than the Midlands.
Same thing.
Not at all.
Regardless, I shall get the better end of the deal for once. I'm going to Brighton.
Father!
Offstage.
What?
Tell Lydia she isn't going to Brighton.
I shall. The Colonel's wife invited me, and that's that.
Lydia skips off happily.
Father!
Offstage.
Enough! Am I never to enjoy a moment's peace in this house?
Lydia in Brighton accompanying a regiment?
Lydia will never be easy till she has exposed herself in some public place or other, and she will never do it with so little expensive inconvenience to her family as under the offered circumstances.
At little monetary expense, yes, but at what cost to our family's respectability? A vain, ignorant, idle girl in Brighton, we're still a flirt in the worst and meanest degree of flirtation.
My dear, at Brighton she will be of less importance as a flirt than she has been here. She's too poor to be an object of prey to anybody there. The officers will find women better worth their notice. Let us hope, therefore, that they may teach her her own insignificance. At any rate, she cannot grow many degrees worse without authorizing us to lock her up for the rest of her life.
Father, excuse me, for I must speak plainly. This is a terrible idea.
She will go. We shall have no peace at Longbourn otherwise. Besides, Colonel and Mrs. Forrester are sensible and will keep her out of any real mischief. Turn your thoughts to your own trip.
So long as we do not go to Derbyshire.
End scene. Scene 17. Elizabeth is traveling with Mr. and Mrs. Gardiner.
And how long are we going to be in Derbyshire?
Not long, just long enough to visit Pemberley.
Sorry, did you say Pemberley?
Certainly. Should you not like to see a place of which you've heard so much, with which so many of your acquaintances are connected? Wickham passed all his youth there, you know.
It's just, have you not grown tired of great houses? After going over so many, what's another fine carpet or satin curtain?
Oh, if it were merely a fine house, I should not care about it myself. Oh, but the grounds are delightful. They have some of the finest woods in the country.
Aunt, uncle,
Here we are. Let's give it a knock.
Mr. Gardiner knocks on the door. Mrs. Reynolds enters.
Welcome to Pemberley. My name is Mrs. Reynolds and I keep the house. May I have the pleasure of knowing your names?
Good day. I'm Mr. Gardiner. This is my wife, Mrs. Gardiner. And this is our niece, Miss Elizabeth Bennet.
Her name is Elizabeth Bennet.
Yes. Now, we were...
Come in. Now, don't be shy. Let me give you a tour. Can I take your coats? Lovely. Mr. Darcy is away now, but we expect him tomorrow with a large group of friends. Let's have a look around, shall we?
End scene. Scene 18. The Gardiners and Elizabeth follow Mrs. Reynolds.
And this was the late Mr. Darcy's favorite room.
So many rooms. And to think this all belongs to one man.
Mrs. Gardiner motions to a miniature of Wickham.
And who is this handsome young man?
That is Mr. Wickham. He was the steward's son. The late Mr. Darcy was most fond of him and brought him up at his own expense. He has now gone into the army, and I'm afraid he has turned out very wild. And that
Points to Mr. Darcy's miniature.
is Mr. Darcy, the son. Though it was drawn about 8 years ago, it still looks very much like him.
I had heard he had such a handsome face. This miniature seems to confirm it. But Lizzie, you can tell us whether it is like him or not.
Does the young lady know Mr. Darcy?
A little.
And do you not think him a very handsome gentleman, ma'am?
Yes, very handsome.
I am sure I know none so handsome.
It amazes me the man is unmarried.
Yes, ma'am. Truthfully, I do not know who is good enough for him.
It is very much to his credit, I'm sure, that you should think so.
I say no more than the truth, and what everybody will say that knows him. I have never had a cross word from him in my life, and I have known him ever since he was 4 years old. I have always observed that they who are good-natured when children are good-natured when they grow up. And he was always the sweetest tempered, most generous-hearted boy in the world. He will be as his father, just as affable to the poor. He is the best landlord and the best employer that ever lived. Not like these wild young men nowadays who think of nothing but themselves. There is not one of his tenants or employees that would say otherwise. Some people call him proud, but I am sure I never saw anything of it. To my fancy, it is only because he does not rattle away like other young men.
I see no portrait of his sister.
Mr. Darcy enters unaware with the portrait of Georgiana.
Mrs. Reynolds, would you please examine this new portrait of Georgiana? It looks only tolerable to me, but your eye is more objective.
He notices the guests.
Elizabeth.
Mr. and Mrs. Gardiner, may I introduce Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy. Miss Elizabeth Bennet, you are already acquainted.
End scene. Scene 19. Mr. Darcy, the Gardiners, and Elizabeth are outside. Mr. Darcy is pointing out at the water.
And there is most typically the best spot in the early morning hours, though in the afternoon you will want to head upriver to that spot by the shade there.
Uh-huh.
And I must insist that you come as often as you choose at any time of your choosing. Sincerely.
It is most gracious.
And you are always welcome to my fishing tackle, or if you should desire a different tackle, I shall supply a different one of your choosing.
Well, I must say your knowledge of the sport impresses me greatly. I'm obliged to admit, though, that my appreciation of fishing has to this point rested almost entirely on the peace of being alone in the act, rather than the results it yields.
My good Mr. Gardner, I believe your approach to fishing is wiser and greater than any I've ever heard.
May I interest you all in some tea?
Oh, yes. Come, husband. You can learn more of the fishery later.
Thank you for your guidance and generosity.
I insist you may come anytime you wish.
The Gardiners go to exit.
Such a gentleman.
And handsome, too. Oh.
All but Elizabeth and Darcy exit B.
Your housekeeper was certain that you would not be here till tomorrow with your party.
Business with my steward necessitated coming a few hours before the rest of them. They will join early tomorrow. Among them are some who will claim an acquaintance with you, Mr. Bingley and his sisters.
Elizabeth gives a slight bow.
There is also one other person in the party who more particularly wishes to be known to you. Will you allow me, or do I ask too much, to introduce my sister to your acquaintance?
You would like me to meet your sister? Yes, certainly. I would be honored.
End scene. Scene 20. Georgiana sits alone, secluding herself from the crowd of the party and looking out a window. Darcy and Elizabeth enter.
Georgiana!
She startles.
I would like to introduce you to Miss Elizabeth Bennet.
Hi.
It's a pleasure to meet you. Your brother has told me such good things about you. So, I hear you enjoy.
Elizabeth?
Bingley enters.
My goodness, it's been so long. I've had the it's just been so long since I've had the pleasure of seeing you.
Yes, it has to have been.
Oh, 8 months. Not since the 26th of November when we were dancing together in Netherfield.
That's right.
Miss Bingley enters.
Elizabeth Bennet. My, what a surprise.
I had mentioned to your brother, I believe, that Elizabeth would happily be joining our party today.
You were, I mean, oh yes, of course.
End scene. Scene 21. Georgiana sits alone. Darcy enters.
How are you holding up?
Fine. Am I not talking enough?
You owe no one false airs. If you do not enjoy parties, you do not enjoy parties. You're polite and kind, and that's more than sufficient.
I should like to speak more with Lizzie, but Charles seemingly cannot spare her a moment.
Yes, he must hear all there is to hear about her elder sister. He's still heartsick, I think.
And what about you, brother?
Darcy blushes. Georgiana squeezes his hand. Miss Bingley enters.
I hope I am not interrupting any familial bonding.
Not at all, Miss Bingley.
There's only so long I can hear my brother endlessly inquire after that Jane Bennet.
The heart takes time to mend.
But it will mend soon, I should hope. You of all people should know that the Bennets are unsuitable. It amazes me that you should invite Eliza here.
I should think it impolite to turn away a visitor.
And politeness is the sole reason for her invitation?
Elizabeth is about to join their company, but stops in the background when she hears Miss Bingley talking about her.
The other women were remarking how ill she looked this morning, that she has looked much altered since the winter. For my own part, I must confess that I never could see any beauty in her. Her face is too thin, her complexion has no brilliancy, her features are not at all handsome, her nose wants character. There is nothing marked in its lines. Her teeth are tolerable, but not out of the common way. And as for her eyes,
Caroline, this is not proper.
which have sometimes been called so fine, I could never perceive anything extraordinary in them. They have a sharp, shrewish look, which I do not like at all. And in her air altogether, there is a self-sufficiency without fashion, which is intolerable. I remember when we first met her in Hertfordshire, how amazed we all were to hear that she was a reputed beauty. I particularly recollect your saying one night after they had been dining at Netherfield, "She a beauty. I should as soon call her mother a wit."
Yes, but that was only when I first knew her. For it is many months since I have come to regard her as one of the most handsomest women of my acquaintance.
Darcy goes to exit, encounters Elizabeth before he is off. Beat. He goes off stage. End scene. Scene 22, Jane writing a letter.
Dearest Lizzie, something has occurred of a most unexpected and serious nature. What I have to say is related to poor Lydia. An express came at 12 last night, just as we were all gone to bed, from Colonel Forster to inform us that she was gone off with one of his officers, with Wickham. But I am willing to hope the best, and that his character has been misunderstood. Our poor mother is sadly grieved, and our father bears it better. How thankful I am that we never let them know what has been said against him. We must ourselves.
Elizabeth sits reading the letter. Georgiana enters.
Another letter for you, Lizzie.
Georgiana gives Elizabeth the letter. She opens it. Georgiana exits.
My dearest sister, By this time you have received my hurried letter. I wish I may be more intelligible, but my head is so bewildered. I have bad news. Imprudent as a marriage between Mr. Wickham and our poor Lydia would be, we are now anxious to be assured it has taken place. We believe Wickham has never intended to marry Lydia at all. All that is known is that they were seen continuing the London road. Our uncle's advice and assistance would be everything in the world. He will immediately comprehend what I must feel, and I rely upon his goodness.
Darcy has entered.
What's the matter?
I beg your pardon, but I must leave you.
End scene. Scene 23, Longbourn. Jane sits. Elizabeth enters and sits next to her.
Tell me all and everything about it. Did the colonel not suspect anything between them?
Colonel Forster did own that he had often suspected some partiality, especially on Lydia's side, but nothing to give him any alarm. I'm so grieved for him. His behavior was attentive and kind to the utmost.
And did Colonel Forster appear to think ill of Wickham himself? Does he know his real character?
He did not speak so well of Wickham as he formerly did. Wickham came to owe a great deal in Brighton. He has proved a gamester.
A gamester. Well, he has always shown an affection for the whist tables. How are our parents?
I never saw anyone so shocked as father. He could not speak a word for 10 minutes. Mother was taken ill immediately.
And now?
Mrs. Bennet is heard hollering. Elizabeth and Jane quickly exit before she enters. Mr. Gardiner follows behind her.
Why did the colonel and his wife ever let her go out of their sight? I am sure there was some great neglect or other on their side. For poor dear Lydia is not the kind of girl to do such a thing. If she had been well looked after, and now here's Mr. Bennet gone away, and I know he will fight Wickham wherever he meets him, and then he will be killed, and what is to become of us? The Collinses will turn us out before he is cold in the grave. And if you are not kind to us, brother, I do not know what we shall do.
Do not give way to useless alarm. Though it is right to be prepared for the worst, there is no occasion to look on it as certain. It is not quite a week since they left Brighton. In a few days more, we may gain some news of them, and till we know they are not married and have no design of marrying, do not let us give the matter over as lost. As soon as I get to town, I shall go to Mr. Bennet and make him come home, and then we may consult together as to what is to be done.
Oh, my dear brother, that is exactly what I could most wish for. And now do, when you get to town, find them out, wherever they may be. And if they are not married already, make them marry.
End scene. Scene 24. Mr. Bennet sits sunken in his chair. He has an unopened letter in his hand. Elizabeth enters.
Elizabeth, this letter comes from your uncle. I have not the strength to read it.
Let me see it.
Mr. Bennet hands her the letter. She opens it and reads it.
Well?
He will marry her, provided you assure Lydia's equal share of the inheritance secured among your children after your mother's decease, £100 per annum during your life and £50 per annum after your death.
That is all.
Yes.
Hand me the letter, please.
Mr. Bennet reads it.
The terms, I suppose, must be complied with?
Yes, yes, they must marry. I'm only ashamed of his asking so little. My goodness. There's just one thing I want very much to know. How much money has your uncle laid down to bring it about?
My uncle? How do you mean?
I mean that no man in his sense would marry Lydia on so slight a temptation as 100 a year during my life and 50 after I am gone. Wickham's a fool if he takes a farthing less than £10,000.
That is very true. His debt's to be discharged and something still to remain. Oh, it must be my uncle's doings, a generous, good man.
From offstage.
She will be married?
She enters.
My dear. My dear, dear Lydia, I shall see her again. She will be married at 16. My good, kind brother, I knew how it would be. I knew he would manage everything. This is delightful indeed to see her and to see dear Wickham too. Oh, how merry we shall be together when we meet.
End scene. Scene 25. Jane speaks with Elizabeth.
I hope and trust they will yet be happy. His consenting to marry her is a proof, I will believe, that he has come to a right way of thinking. Their mutual affection will steady them, and I flatter myself that they will settle so quietly and live in so rational a manner as may in time make their past imprudence forgotten. We must endeavor to forget all that has passed on either side.
My dear sister, their conduct has been such as neither you, nor I, nor anybody can ever forget. It is useless to talk of it.
Lydia, Wickham, Mr. and Mrs. Bennet enter.
Only think of its being 3 months since I went away. It seems but a fortnight, I declare, and yet there have been things enough happened in the time. Good gracious, when I went away, I am sure I had no more idea of being married till I came back again, though I thought it would be very good fun if I was.
Oh, my dear Lydia, write to me very often.
As often as I can. But you know married women have never much time for writing. My sisters may write to me. They will have nothing else to do.
Excuse me.
Sister, we were always good friends, and now we are better. I find from our uncle and aunt that you've actually seen Pemberley. I almost envy your pleasure. You saw the old housekeeper, I suppose? Oh, poor Reynolds. She was always very fond of me. Did you see Darcy while you were there?
Yes, he introduced me to his sister.
And do you like her?
Very much.
I have heard indeed that she is uncommonly improved within this year or two. When I last saw her, she was not very promising. I'm very glad you liked her. I hope she will come out well.
I dare say she will. She's got over the most trying age.
Did you go by the village of Kimpton?
I do not recollect that we did.
I mention it because it is the living which I ought to have had. A most delightful place, excellent parsonage house. It would have suited me in every respect. One ought not to repine, but to be sure, it would have been such a thing for me. But it was not to be. Did you ever hear Darcy mention the circumstances when you were in Kent?
I have heard from authority, which I thought as good, that it was left you conditionally only, and at the will of the present patron.
You have. Yes, there was something in that. I told you so from the first, you may remember.
Wickham looks out the window.
This is a beautiful land. I should like to walk it. Will my dear family accompany me?
I shall.
As shall I.
Then naturally I shall join.
I shall remain with Jane.
Very well. We shall return.
All make to go but Elizabeth. Just before leaving, Mr. Bennet pulls Elizabeth aside after all else have exited.
He is as fine a fellow as I ever saw. He simpers and smirks and makes love to us all. I am prodigiously proud of him. I defy a duke to produce a more valuable son-in-law.
He exits. End scene. Scene 26. Jane cries alone. Elizabeth enters. Elizabeth hugs her.
There. It's over.
She continues to cry.
I wish she had not fallen for him either, but that time's lost. Better for them to be married than not.
Oh, Elizabeth, can't you see it's not for her I cry? I had thought in vain, I know, but perhaps that he might change his mind. We're not of his class, but there was a time when that seemed not to bother him, but perhaps before he might have been able to overcome his intimates' objections. But now it's insurmountable. A man like him can never marry a woman whose familial reputation is as ours has become, even with his character. And Darcy, I know you abhor him, but to Bingley, he's more than a brother. How could Bingley ever marry a girl whose brother-in-law is Darcy's sworn enemy? Oh, Lizzie.
Elizabeth holds her crying sister. End scene. Scene 27, Elizabeth alone. Lydia comes in.
Lizzie, I never gave you an account of my wedding. You were not by when I told Mama and the others all about it. Are you not curious to hear how it was managed?
Not particularly. I think there cannot be too little said on the subject.
You are so strange, but I must tell you how it went off.
Very well.
We were married, at St. Clement's because dear Wickham's lodgings were in that parish, and it was settled that we should all be there by 11 o'clock. Uncle and Aunt and I were to go together. Well, Monday morning came, and I was in such a fuss, and there was Aunt all the time I was dressing, preaching and talking away, just as if she was reading a sermon. And then there was Uncle to give me away, and there was that horrid Mr. Stone who was to marry us. He realized until only later that Mr. Darcy could have married us instead. Anyways.
Mr. Darcy?
Oh, yes. He was to come there with Wickham. But gracious me, I forgot. I ought to not have said a word about it. It was to be such a secret. Oh, do forget I said anything. Now, back to more important matters. I longed to know whether Mr. Wickham would be married in his blue coat. He looked so dashing in that blue coat. Well, so we went to breakfast at 10 as usual.
Blackout. End scene. Scene 28. Colonel Forster sits at his desk writing transfer orders. He contemplates one and signs it.
May McCleary be more honorable than his predecessor.
There's a knock on the door.
If you are who I think you are, come in.
Mr. Darcy enters, bows.
Colonel?
Take a seat, Fitzwilliam.
He does so. Colonel Forster flashes him the paper.
His post is taken.
I see.
His life, then, is yours to manage.
If His Majesty's armed forces would see fit to give him any post, I can ensure he would take it without quarrel and serve loyally.
His debts?
All cleared, so long as he never shows face in Derbyshire again.
Colonel Forster puts his thumb sideways.
£1,000?
Pardon?
More or less.
Uh,
Reckless, wayward boy. So over £1,000 he can credit you for his debts, and I suppose he received a dowry.
yes, but one well below expectation. Even accepting a small yearly allowance.
From you?
Her uncle.
I'm sure. Nearly 3,000 in all, shall we say?
Yes.
3,500. Your humility and demeanor cannot convince me of less. To summarize, he finds himself spared from discharge, the disgrace of elopement, and the aggression of vindictive debtors. He gains a pretty wife, receives a yearly allowance.
As little as can be given without disgracing his bride.
But much more than I can expect nearly any of the more worthy men in my ranks could receive. And above it all, he gains the support of a good family he has greatly mistreated.
The whole family, I understand, takes the development joyously.
But not you. You tried to persuade her otherwise, no?
She's so young, Colonel.
Colonel Forster looks at him. He takes a piece of paper and signs his name.
To my dismay, I must report that this situation with the armed forces shall work out in his favor as well. In fact, there is an appendage of His Majesty's vast empire that always seeks men, a desolate land far from where Mr. Wickham calls home.
You are aware how little that narrows down my guesses.
The north.
What?
The grayest, most unpopulated part of it, I should think, where there is no society to please him or for him to bother.
Huh.
It actually works out rather well for me. I can't even get northerners to take northern posts, as you are a southerner.
a Midlander.
I hope you'll find some justice in all this.
I should not like to denigrate the whole of the region from which my closest companion comes, but I must admit there is something satisfying in this turn.
You strike me as a man who's made uncomfortable by praise, so I will simply bow my head and wish you a good day.
Good day, Colonel. I humbly thank you for your accommodation.
Colonel Forster nods. Darcy exits as the colonel goes back to his papers. End scene. Scene 29. Mr. Bennet sits reading a book. Mrs. Bennet enters.
Mr. Bingley is to come again to Netherfield.
Doubtless to make an obligatory assessment of his property. Perhaps he will sell.
Regardless, one must act courteously. You will wait on him, of course.
No, you forced me into visiting him last year and promised if I went to see him, he should marry one of my daughters. But it ended in nothing, and I will not be sent on a fool's errand again.
Well, all I know is that it would be abominably rude if you did not wait on him.
If he wants our society, let him seek it. He knows where we live. I will not spend my hours in running after my neighbors every time they go away and come back again.
Do I look like a selfish woman to you? Do you imagine I go about all these etiquettes and practices because I enjoy them? Because I have superficial notions about society and wish my daughters to marry simply because?
Mrs. Bennet snatches her husband's book and slams it shut.
This is how it works. You may not like it, but it is. If you think that I would pass over even the slightest chance to secure my daughter's happiness, Mr. Bennet, I should think that the esteem you held me in the day we were married is gone.
Mr. Bennet strokes Mrs. Bennet's head.
If any of our daughters' husbands turn out to be like me, then your interference, since sadly I cannot immediately think of any more generous word to use, is all too necessary.
They kiss.
I will go to him, but only with a small expression of neighborly courtesy.
That won't be necessary. He already reached out asking if we might care to dine with him.
End scene. Scene 30. Jane is preparing herself for Mr. Bingley's visit. Elizabeth enters.
Well, and so Mr. Bingley is coming up, sister.
Well, so much the better. Not that I care about it, though. He's nothing to us, you know. However, he's very welcome to come if he likes it. But that is nothing to us, and so it is quite certain that he is coming tonight.
Yes.
My dear Lizzie, you cannot think me so weak as to be in danger now.
Sound of a knock on a door. Mrs. Bennet enters.
There he is.
She opens the door.
So good to see you in Hertfordshire again, Mr.
Bingley and Mr. Darcy enter.
Mr. Darcy.
Elizabeth?
Mr. Darcy bows. Mr. Bingley approaches Jane.
Dear Jane,
Charles?
it is a pleasure to see you again.
He takes her hand. Jane cannot help but be affected.
Please forgive my lack of notice. I hope I do not intrude.
Well, any friend of Mr. Bingley's is always welcome here. Come along now.
All follow out except Elizabeth. Beat. End scene. Scene 31. Dinner time at Longbourn. Jane and Elizabeth sit next to each other. Mr. Bingley talks. Mr. Darcy watches Jane.
So many changes have occurred in the neighborhood since I left. Of course, I heard much of it in the papers, but still, there's so much on which I hope to be caught up to speed.
Mr. Darcy keeps looking at me.
Just be natural.
Who is he to believe that his eye comprehends all? What look must glimmer in my countenance to convince him I am not some heartless girl whose sole aim is to marry above her station?
Just pay attention to Mr. Bingley. Don't let him worry you.
It is a delightful thing, Mr. Bingley, to have a daughter well married. But at the same time, it is very hard to have her taken such away from me. They are past even Newcastle.
Quite north indeed.
I should hope that though you have for much of your life called the North your home, that such faraway distances are not in your future?
No, I should think my eyes are focused more southwards at present.
Bingley looks at Jane, who looks down in shyness. Mr. Darcy continues to study Jane. Mr. Bingley looks at Mr. Darcy. Mr. Darcy looks down and takes a bite of food. Equilibrium is restored, though at some point in Mrs. Bennet's next lines, Mr. Darcy catches Elizabeth's eye, which she returns.
What a delight to hear. The hunting is much finer here besides. After you've killed all your own birds at Netherfield, I beg you will come here and shoot as many as you please on Mr. Bennet's manor. I am sure he will be vastly happy to oblige you and will save all the best of the coveys for you.
End scene. Scene 32. Jane, Mr. Bingley, and Elizabeth sit together. Mrs. Bennet enters.
Lizzie, my dear, I want to speak with you.
All right.
Come here, love.
Elizabeth goes to Mrs. Bennet. Sound of a door closing. Jane and Mr. Bingley are in darkness. Elizabeth tries to get past her mother, who blocks the door.
Mother, no.
Quiet.
Please, this will ruin everything.
Calm yourself.
Mother.
Hush.
In the dark, Mr. Bingley whispers in Jane's ear. She nods. They hug and exchange a peck. Lights come up as a dazed Mr. Bingley opens the door.
I must make an appointment with Mr. Bennet at once.
Upstairs, first room on the left.
Bingley nods and exits. A joyous Jane enters.
It's too much, by far too much. I do not deserve it. Oh, why is not everybody as happy?
Jane chases off after Bingley. Mrs. Bennet gives her daughter a look of, I told you so. End scene. Scene 33. Mrs. Bennet sits looking through wedding arrangements with Jane. The doorbell rings.
Now, who could that be?
Mrs. Bennet opens the door to Lady Catherine.
I am the Lady Catherine de Bourgh. You are Mrs. Bennet, I take it?
Oh, yes. Please do come in, my lady.
Lady Catherine has already let herself in.
Your relation, William Collins, is to inherit this estate, I understand. He is my client.
Yes, he has spoken very favorably of you and very gratefully of your patronage.
I come to speak with Elizabeth Bennet. That, I suppose, is her sister.
Yes, that is Jane. She is recently engaged.
Have her summon Elizabeth.
Mrs. Bennet motions for Jane to do so. Jane exits.
You have a very small park here.
It is nothing in comparison to yours, my lady, but I dare say it is much larger than Sir William Lucas's next door.
This must be a most inconvenient sitting room for the evening in summer. The windows are full west.
May I get you a refreshment, madam?
No.
Something to eat, then.
I shall have nothing to eat.
Elizabeth enters.
Lady Catherine, please allow me to introduce you to my middle daughter, Elizabeth Bennet.
Curtsies.
My lady.
Mrs. Bennet, there seemed to be a prettyish kind of little wilderness on the other side of your lawn. I shall be glad to take a turn in it, if Elizabeth will favor me with her company.
Go, my dear, and show her ladyship about the different walks. I think she will be pleased with the hermitage.
Lights dim on Mrs. Bennet as Lady Catherine and Elizabeth walk away. Mrs. Bennet exits.
You can be at no loss, Miss Bennet, to understand of my journey hither. Your own heart, your own conscience must tell you why I come.
Indeed, you are mistaken, madam. I have not been at all able to account for the honor of seeing you here.
Miss Bennet, you ought to know that I am not to be trifled with. However insincere you may choose to be, You shall not find me so. My character has ever been celebrated for its sincerity and frankness. And in a cause of such moment as this, I shall certainly not depart from it. A report of most alarming nature reached me 2 days ago. I was told that not only your sister was on the point of being most advantageously married, but that you, Miss Elizabeth Bennet, would in all likelihood be soon afterwards united to my nephew, my own nephew, Mr. Darcy. Though I know it must be a scandalous falsehood, I instantly resolved on setting off for this place, that I might make my sentiments known to you.
If I believed it to be impossible to be true, I wonder you took the trouble of coming so far. What could your ladyship propose by it?
Do you then pretend to be ignorant of this report? Has it not been industriously circulated by yourselves? Do you not know that such a report is spread about?
I never heard that it was.
Can you likewise declare that there is no foundation in it?
I do not pretend to possess equal frankness with your ladyship. You may ask questions which I shall not continue to answer.
This is not to be borne, Miss Bennet. I insist on being satisfied. Has my nephew, made you an offer of marriage?
Your ladyship has declared it to be impossible.
It ought to be so. It must be so, while he retains the use of his reason. But your arts and allurements may, in a moment of infatuation, have made him forget what he owes to himself and to all his family. You may have drawn him in.
If I have, I shall be the last person to confess it.
Miss Bennet, do you know who I am? Not accustomed to such language as this. I am almost the nearest relation to Mr. Darcy has in the world, and am entitled to know all his dearest concerns.
But you are not entitled to know mine, nor will such behavior as this ever induce me to be explicit.
Let me be rightly understood. To this match, to which you have the presumption to aspire, can never take place. No, never. Mr. Darcy is engaged to my daughter. Now, what do you have to say?
Only this, that if he is so, you can have no reason to suppose he will make an offer to me.
The engagement between them is of a peculiar kind. From their infancy, they have been intended for each other. It was the favorite wish of his mother as well as of hers. While in their cradles, we planned the union. And now, at this moment when the wishes of both sisters would be accomplished in their marriage, to be prevented by a young woman of inferior birth, of no importance in the world, and wholly unallied to the family? Do you pay no regard to the wishes of his friends? To his tacit engagement with Miss de Bourgh? Are you lost to every feeling of propriety and delicacy?
If there is no other object against my marrying your nephew, I shall certainly not be kept from it by knowing that his mother and aunt wished him to marry Miss de Bourgh. You both did as much as you could in planning the marriage. Its completion depended on others. If I am his choice, why may I not accept him?
Because honor, decorum, prudence, Nay, interest forbid it. Yes, Miss Bennet, interest. For do not expect to be noticed by his family and friends if you are willfully act against the inclinations of all. You will be censored, slighted, and despised by everyone connected with him. Your alliance will be a disgrace. Your name will never even be mentioned by any of us.
These are heavy misfortunes, but the wife of Mr. Darcy must have such extraordinary happiness in her situation that she could, upon the whole, have no cause to repine.
Obstinate, headstrong girl. My daughter and my nephew are formed for each other. They are descended from the same noble line. They are destined for each other by the voice of every member of their respective homes. They will not be prevented by the upstart pretensions of a good young woman without family, connections, or fortunes. If you were sensible of your own good, you would not wish to quit the sphere in which you have been brought up. Tell me once and for all, are you engaged to him?
I am not.
And will you promise me never to enter into such an engagement?
I will make no promise of the kind.
Oh. Do not deceive yourself into a belief that this I will ever recede.
I am not to be intimidated into anything so wholly unreasonable.
I am no stranger to the particulars of your youngest sister's infamous elopement. I know it all. That the young man's marrying her was a patched up business, that
You can now have nothing further to say. You have insulted me in every possible method, and I must beg to return to the house.
Take no leave of you, Miss Bennet. I send no compliments to your mother. You deserve no such attention. I am most seriously displeased.
Lady Catherine exits. Elizabeth throws a two-fingered salute at her. End scene. Scene 34. Elizabeth enters the sitting area where Jane is looking at tablecloths.
What tablecloth says wedding more? The pure white or the alabaster?
They look exactly the same.
Why do I bother with you? So Lady Catherine, huh? What did she want?
Nothing worth entertaining.
Jane nods, goes back to her tablecloths.
I suspect Mr. Darcy will ask me to marry him again.
Between him and Mr. Collins, it seems you're cursed to attract men who need multiple rejections to realize their marital intentions for you are
If he
fruitless.
asks, I shall say yes.
Are you joking? Well, this cannot be. Engaged to Mr. Darcy? No, you shall not deceive me. It's impossible.
Well, this is a wretched beginning. My sole dependence was on you. I'm sure nobody else will believe me if you do not. But Jane, I am in earnest.
But you dislike him so.
That is all to be forgotten. Perhaps I did not always love him so well as I do now, but in such cases as these, a good memory is unpardonable. This is the last time I shall ever remember it myself.
Good heaven. Can it really be so? Yet I believe you. Dear Lizzie, I do congratulate you, but are you certain?
There is no doubt. I must confess, I think I love him better than you do Bingley.
A beat passes of Jane resisting, smacking the crap out of her sister.
My dearest sister, let's be serious. Now, will you tell me for how long you've loved him?
It has been coming on so gradually that I hardly know when it began.
You have been very sly and very reserved with me. If I knew so little, how do you think our parents will take it?
2 off stage.
Mom, I'm marrying Mr. Darcy.
Over my dead body.
£20,000 a year.
Many happy blessings to you both.
What did I expect? But what about father?
Yes, what about father? Indeed. Jane, will you excuse us?
Jane kisses her father on the cheek before leaving.
Easy now.
What are you doing, Lizzie? Have you not always hated this man?
I know my emotions towards him have never seemed the most moderate, but I'm very much attached to him, father.
Or, in other words, you are determined to have him. He is rich, to be sure, and you may have more fine clothes and fine carriages than Jane, but will they make you happy?
Have you any other objection than your belief of my indifference?
None at all. We all know him to be a proud, unpleasant sort of man, but this would be nothing if you really liked him.
I do. I do like him. I love him. He has no improper pride. He is perfectly amiable. You do not know what he really is, thus pray do not pain me by speaking of him in such terms.
Lizzie, I have given him my consent. He is the kind of man I would never refuse anything he asked of me, but now I give it to you. I know your disposition. I know that you could never be truly happy unless you truly esteemed your husband. Your lively talents have always put you in danger of an unequal marriage. Let me not have the grief of seeing you unable to respect your partner in life. My precious child, is he enough?
Yes, Dad.
Then, my dear, I have no more to say. If this be the case, he deserves you. I could not have parted with you, my Lizzie, to anyone less worthy.
They embrace.
Now go. You have my blessing for all and as little as it's worth.
End scene. Scene 35. Elizabeth sits in the grass reading a book. Her attention little given to it. To start with, she loses her ability to read it and closes it, waiting. Mr. Darcy enters.
Sit with me, Mr. Darcy.
He does so.
Mr. Darcy, I'm a very selfish creature.
He attempts to object, but Elizabeth beats him before he can say even a word.
No, I am. For the sake of relieving my own feelings, I care not how I may wound yours. I can no longer stop myself from thanking you. Were it known to the rest of my family, I should not just say this alone, but Mr. Darcy, thank you. Thank you for saving my sister.
I did not think the gardeners were so little to be trusted.
You must not blame my aunt and uncle. Lydia's thoughtlessness first betrayed me to your involvement, and of course I couldn't rest until I knew all the particulars. Please let me thank you again and again, not just for me, but all my family for your generous compassion, which you induced you to take so much trouble and bear so many mortifications.
All I want was to make you happy. Much as I respect your family, I thought only of you. You are too generous to trifle with me. If your feelings are still what they were last April, tell me so at once. My affections and wishes are unchanged. But one word from you will silence me on the subject forever.
I misjudged you so thoroughly. My feelings have undergone so great a change from the period to which you alluded as to make me receive your present assurances with such gratitude and pleasure.
Darcy gently motions to her to stand up and gets on his knee.
Lizzie, marry me, please.
Yes, yes, Mr. Darcy.
They kiss. Darcy puts a ring on her finger. She admires it. They kiss and wind up back in the grass together. Their kiss breaks off and the next lines pour out quickly.
I'm sorry I abused you so abominably.
What did you say that I didn't deserve? Your accusations were ill-founded, yes, but my behavior to you merited the severest reproof. It was unpardonable. I cannot think of it without abhorrence.
We will not quarrel for the greater share of blame annexed to that evening. Neither of our conduct was irreproachable.
I cannot dismiss it so easily. The recollection of what I said, my conduct, my manners is now, and has been for months, inexpressibly painful to me. Your reproof, so well replied, I shall never forget.
No, don't.
Had you behaved in a gentlemanlike manner, those were your words. You can scarcely conceive how they've tortured me, though it was some time, I confess, before I was reasonable enough to allow their justice.
I had no notion they would make so strong an impression. I hadn't the smallest idea of their being ever felt in such a way.
I can easily believe it. You thought me then devoid of every proper feeling, I am sure. I shall never forget the turn of your countenance, as you said that I could not have addressed you in any possible way that would
do not
induce
repeat
you.
what I said then. These recollections will not do at all. I assure you that I have long been most heartily ashamed of it.
But my letter did soon make you think any better of me.
Yes, and gradually every prejudice I had to you was removed.
I knew what I wrote would give you pain, but it was necessary.
Yes.
I hope you destroyed the letter.
No.
But there was one part, especially the opening of it, which I should dread your having the power of reading again. I can remember some expressions that might justly make you hate me.
It shall be burned if you believe it essential to preserving my regard, but though we have both reason to think my opinions not entirely unalterable, they are not, I hope, quite so easily changed as that implies.
When I wrote that letter, I believed myself perfectly calm and cool, but I am since convinced that was written in a dreadful bitterness of spirit.
The letter perhaps began in bitterness, but it did not end so. The adieu is charity itself. But think no more of the letter. The feelings of the person who wrote it and the person who received it are now so widely different that every unpleasant circumstance ought to be forgotten. You must learn some of my philosophy. Think only of the past as its remembrance gives you pleasure. Except I must ask, were you angry when I came to Pemberley?
No, indeed, I felt nothing but surprise.
Your surprise cannot be greater than mine in being noticed by you. My conscience told me that I deserved no extraordinary politeness.
My object was to show you by every civility in my powers. I was not so mean as to resent the past, and I hoped to obtain your forgiveness to lessen your ill opinion.
You did! And I so adored meeting your sister.
She was so delighted in your acquaintance and was so disappointed at sudden interruption.
But there is no need to revisit those circumstances.
That gets us about up to the present, I believe.
Good talk. Oh, one more thing.
Yes.
I must assume you gave your blessing to Mr. Bingley. I guessed as much.
I spoke to him before my going to London, and after the 2 visits which we had lately made here, assured him that I was convinced of your sister's affections towards him.
And your assurance of it, I suppose, carried immediate conviction to him.
It did. Bingley is most unaffectedly modest. His diffidence had prevented his depending on his own judgment in so anxious a case, but his reliance on mine made everything easy. I was obliged to confess, though, that your sister had been in town 3 months last winter, that I had known it and purposely kept it from him.
And how did he take that?
He was angry, but his anger lasted no longer than he remained in any doubt of your sister's sentiments. He's heartily forgiven me now.
And with all that gone and settled, we are here and all is well.
Yes.
They smile and cuddle. Beat. End scene. Scene 36. Elizabeth lays in the grass with her head on Darcy's lap. He has a book.
What made you begin to fall in love with me? I can comprehend your going on charmingly when you had once made a beginning, but what set you off in the first place?
I cannot name the hour or the spot or the look or the words which laid the foundation. I was in the middle before I knew that I had begun.
My beauty you withstood early, and as for my manners, my behavior to you was at least always bordering on the uncivil, and I never spoke to you without rather wishing to give you pain from naught. Now, be sincere. Did you admire me for my impertinence?
For the liveliness of your mind, I did.
You may as well call it impertinence. It was very little less. The fact that you were sick of civility, of deference, of officious attention, you were disgusted with the women who were always speaking and looking and thinking for your praise alone. I attracted you because I was so unlike them. There, I have saved you the trouble of accounting for it, and really, all things considered, I think it perfectly reasonable. To be sure, you knew no actual good in me, but nobody thinks of that when they fall in love.
I should think there was good in your affectionate behavior towards Jane while she was ill at Netherfield.
Oh, dearest Jane, who could have done less for her? But fine, make a virtue of it by all means. My good qualities are under your protection, and you are to exaggerate them as much as possible. And in return, it belongs to me to find occasions for teasing and quarreling with you as often as may be.
Georgiana sneaks up behind them with a pail of water.
Elizabeth, up!
Elizabeth barely registers in time. She quickly snatches Darcy's book so it isn't ruined and avoids Georgiana spilling the water on her. Darcy is soaked.
Damn it, Georgiana!
Darcy chases a laughing Georgiana. Elizabeth smiles. End play.